Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. I'm Jimbo, your host, and this episode was actually recorded a few weeks back with Kevin, so you're going to hear about a promotion that he was running with Buff and Shine to get a free pad from them. So that promotion is still running if you're interested, so it's not super outdated, but it was recorded a few weeks back, and I had originally told Kevin, hey, I'm going to release it this coming Monday, and then I wanted to get those episodes out for the Detailer Inner Circle, so I withheld it for a couple weeks. And so, yeah, we're going to take a couple weeks break for shamelessly plugging the Detailer Inner Circle so heavy, but I will tell you that if you want to join, actually today, as this goes live, we're doing our very first Detailer Inner Circle Mastermind call. And you can get it if you join at detailerinnercircle.com. We're going to record it so you can go back and do that. But it's our very first live Q&A mastermind call for everyone in the Detailers Inner Circle, both boys and girls. And, of course, I would be not doing this podcast justice if I didn't talk about autofiber.com and the awesome selection of towels over there, especially their Jimbo kit. I just feel like there's so much confusion with detailing chemicals, detailing products, towels, accessories, machines, what to get, where to get, blah, blah, blah. So really a lot of my motivation behind starting this podcast was to help cut through all that noise, all that junk, and Autofiber is really helping me do that, and delivering a great product, a phenomenal product to you, especially within the Jimbo kit. So I went through their inventory and kind of curated a kit of towels that I really liked, that I felt gave a good variety and cut through a lot of the noise, a lot of the crap, and it's currently like $55, over a $75 value if you want to get that. If you want to get your hands on other towels, you could save 20%. Just use code Jimbo at autofiber.com. All right, this is a really cool episode with Kevin, really refreshing. Just a little backstory real quick. I don't want to go too long for all those people that get annoyed with these long intros, but it was weird. Me and Kevin were both kind of in a funk and didn't really want to record an episode. And then coming out of this episode, we were like, wow, man, that was super refreshing, just to sit and talk with two dudes, not really any crazy agenda, but just talk about the things that we're seeing going on in the industry, things that are happening to us, kind of just play catch up. And that's what we did. So this episode was a super refreshing episode to do with him. So Kevin, thank you. I know you're probably not listening, but thank you for taking the time out of your crazy, crazy schedule right now to do this. And I hope everyone listening enjoys it and feels as refreshed as I know I did after it. So without further ado, here we go. Welcome to episode 290 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. And that's not going to be funny to anyone except for me and my special guest today, my very special guest coming on for another time, Mr. Kevin Davis from Detailers. Helper.
Hey, Guy.
Guy?
I'm just talking to you right now.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking to my one listener.
Guy, like if you're at a party and you forget someone's name. Yep. Of course, I don't actually go to parties, but like I've forgotten your name. Hey, Jimbo and Jimbo's fans.
It's even worse when you actually have known that person for a long time, and then it's like, hey, and you're trying to introduce someone. You're like, hey, this is Kevin. You know him, right? And then you're just hoping that the person you've known for a long time introduces themselves with their name, and then you're like, oh yes, that's right, Bob. That was his name. Completely forgot that.
When I got to be mid-30s and my pride began, after my children reminded me how stupid they think I am all the time, my pride started to go downhill. And so now it's just I'll be like, I know I've known you for 2 years. I have no idea what your name is right now, so you're going to have to remind me.
You're like, can everyone just walk around with name tags on?
That's right, yeah.
That'd make my life so much easier. But before me and Kevin hopped on, for those of you that are like, what the hell's going on? We were just ranting and raving about how our days today have been not ideal, but not terrible. But we're a little grumpy. We're a little fussy. So we're using this as an outlet to kind of reinvigorate our days.
Yeah, there you go. It's always fun to talk to you for sure.
It is. And contrary to what you mentioned, you are not my go-to because I don't have anyone else. That's usually me by myself. When I do those, it's like, oh man, whoops.
There you go.
Anyway,
well, you can always call me. You can always call me. I don't mind being the backup.
I appreciate that. So before we kind of get into what we're going to talk about today, why don't you give us a little status on what's going on in your neck of the woods? What you've been working on? It's been crazy on multiple fronts. As you know, I have multiple things that we do on any given week. Detailers Helper is doing well. We're getting ready to run a Buff and Shine free pad special probably this weekend. So I got some pads here, and I'm going to redo the PNS bead maker 1-2. So that's pretty exciting. How did that go, by the way?
It went well. People like that stuff. If you're shipping products, when you do giveaways and they're expensive to ship, you just have to be aware of that. So that was a learning experience for me.
So how did that work? I saw the giveaway, but I wasn't real sure on how it works. So if you bought a belt, you got a free bead maker.
Yeah, basically, if you spent more than $50, what I do, $50, I think. Okay. So if you basically bought anything from a standard to whatever, you basically got a free bottle of bead maker. So
it works good for us. Did you send them a list of people who had purchased, or what?
No, he sent them to me, and similar to what Buff and Shine did. So I have the stock here, and so I just pack them up together and ship them out. So
but aren't they buying them off your site or no?
Yeah, well, technically, they're buying them from me or buy my stuff, and then I just throw in a free bottle whenever I ship out my stuff.
Oh, okay. So what pad?
And I'll do the same thing with the pads. So I have they're Euro pads.
Yeah, Euro fiber, Kevin.
Eurocell, actually. I have mostly Eurocell, and then I've got a handful of Euro fiber ones that I'm gonna just, I guess, I don't have very many of them, so I may just keep them.
There you go.
No, I'll give those will be a couple of randomly selected customers that'll get those. So yeah. So
well, when is this contest coming out? Maybe people might be interested in trying to win some pads. Or well, you don't even have to win it, right? It's just you basically just order. So this episode won't come out for what, a week? Kevin, this is going to come out on Monday.
All right, cool. Well, we'll start it Monday. That'll be our 4th of July thing. So by the time this launches, go to detailershelper.com and you'll get a free pad.
So spend $50 and get a free pad, which is a pad's probably $12 to $15. So
yeah, something like that. Plus, it's good for both of us. So that works good. And these kind of, I'm big on co-branding. You know that. So co-branding stuff works really well because
it's just a cool opportunity for everyone. So because I look at it like, well, what if there's a guy or a gal in the market for a Detailers Helper belt anyway, and maybe they've been looking at it, but haven't pulled the trigger yet, and then it's like, oh, I could get a free pad out of it. Like, why not? Yeah,
and it gives them a chance to, there's tons of different pads out there, so it gives them a chance to try out a new pad and see how they, because this is, the pad technology, whether they're the cutting pad or finish pad, they're, it's a similar technology, so it helps to be able to sort of differentiate that kind of stuff. And I'm not, we've talked about it many times. I'm Switzerland, so we'll do PNS stuff. We'll do Lake Country. We'll do Buff and Shine like we're doing. We may do some other companies out there. So,
and I think that's, this is kind of a rant just back and forth that we didn't plan, but I think that is so key, what you just said of like co-branding stuff and collaborating together and all that, because I feel like everyone wins in that situation. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely,
everyone wins. And with stuff like the internet and all that, these days of like, oh, we're over here and they're over there and we're competitors and not friends and blah 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 blah. It's like, I feel like those days are still around and egos exist, but I feel like that is slowly going away. Yeah,
I agree. I think that, in general, people are recognizing that detailing is a very small market, all things considered. And
it's tiny.
Yeah, tiny. And we're not hitting everybody. So until everybody has bought one of each of our products, then we probably have some room to grow. And hey, congratulations, by the way, on your towel pack. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, man. That's so kind of along the same lines of what, you're talking about, this co-branding thing. It was like, look, to be honest, I was looking for a towel sponsor, right? Because, hello, I'm not trying to do this thing for free forever. But I thought, how can I win by also winning for someone else, but also winning for the listener? Yeah. So I actually reached out to Autofiber, and it was funny, as we started talking, I actually had already had one of Ian's coating applicator pads, or coating applicators, that I have no idea where it came from. Like, no, I have no idea. I tried asking a couple guys, like, hey, did you give this to me? Like, where did I get this? I have no idea where I got it. And Ian saw it in a video. It was actually the Sonax coating that I was installing. And he commented, like, hey, how do you like that applicator? And I thought, it's cool. I love it. I have no idea where I got it, so I don't know where to get any more. And so me and him jumped on a call, and I'm like, look, like, would you be interested in sponsoring the podcast? Like, because towels are something, I feel like there's a lot of confusion about them, where to go, what to get them. Do I just get the Costco towels, blah, blah, blah. And then once you find a reputable company to go to, what towels do you get, right? And then where am I just getting absolutely hosed on towels, And it's a renewable resource, or a renewable, guys need it all the time. I tried to come up with a big word there, but
it's a
consumable. So that's a win for Ian and Autofiber, right? So we kind of structured this little deal together, and then, I mean, to be totally transparent, the free towel, gave him email addresses, right? But
it's an opt-in bribe.
It's an opt-in bribe, total bribe, but people get a cool towel. So it's like, sure, I'll give you my email address.
I still need your official signature on the one that I put up on my shop wall next to the picture of Jesse Coombs and Rutledge Wood. So,
well, I've yet to see that picture of it actually hanging, Kevin. So, anyway.
When I say hanging, I used it to clean the muffler on the Jeep.
I was going to say, it's your engine towel.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Someone commented on it, like, and for those of you that don't know about it, it was a free towel, a free offer. It was printed with the podcast and my personal detailing business logos on it, and it was a free thing. All you got to, just put in your email and it's free, whatever. So, and someone comments, and by the way, it's obviously a towel that you're not going to use. Right? It's screen printed, guys. You're not going to use it, right? And this person comments, wow, looks like kind of a cheap towel. And I'm like, I hope you're joking. Like, are you being serious?
Yeah, it was exactly zero cheap. $0.
Yeah, sometimes you get what you pay for. Kind of like this podcast.
No, it's a great promotion. I think it's a great idea.
You know what?
So.
And we had 100 towels, and they went out, almost within a day. So that was pretty cool. So, but I love win-win-win situations, where everyone can win involved,
Right. And even if we want, since we're talking about detailing to detailers, we're not just talking about product stuff.
Totally.
There are other detailing companies in every town, besides you. So there's tons of opportunities for co-branding and collaboration and that kind of thing. And you never know how that's going to turn out. I mean, we've talked about it before. When I pretty much shut down my detailing business, I just shoveled all of that business and all of my search engine positioning and ads and all that stuff over to a buddy of mine here in town. And it helped him, I think. It helped me because I had someone I trusted to send people to. But I mean, there's other opportunities too. Like if you're going to do share a booth at a trade show locally, or collaborate on car shows and cars and coffees and that kind of thing too.
So did you take down your website for Davis Auto Detailing?
I finally did, or I had no. Well, what I actually did was I didn't want to waste it, so I put a note on there that basically says we've decided to move on to other things. I think I can't remember what I said, but then I gave the phone number for Marza Bozeman, who's a good friend of mine here.
I'm actually getting a 403 air on it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, I should check that. I may have killed it.
Yeah.
I ran it for a while, and then I was still getting like 4 texts a day that I used to just have to forward it over. So I think I got tired of of dealing with it. So yeah. Well, I mean, it's good. It meant that obviously something was
working.
Yeah.
Some of my SEO stuff that I never talk about is starting to click. That me and you have talked about, and SEO is nice. Paid ads are cool. SEO is nice.
Nice.
Anyway, so speaking of kind of handing stuff off and that kind of angle, the topic we wanted to talk about today was, when to work on your business instead of in your business, and then when to hand stuff off. So do you kind of want to lead with that and kind of tell us what that means maybe, or, what that means to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about it. We, over the last, 7 or 8 months, this is where, I think the best lessons are through other people's failures.
Totally.
And, I told you earlier that I was a little bit pissy today, and I'm just sometimes you start thinking about things that you've screwed up on and things that you could have done differently. And I don't know, male PMS today, but that's sort of where I've been. So it's funny that we're talking about this, but I made a huge mistake this year in just how I handed off way too much of my business to someone else.
And what business? Because you kind of have. I know it's all one, but are you talking about Detailers Helper? Actually,
all of them. I have the parent company's the Helper brands, and we have Detailers Helper, Cleaners Helper, which is in the janitorial space. We have, and then Little Helper and Handy Helper, which we just rebranded. Those are the consumer side. Plus Sugar High Motorsports, which if anybody's been following me on social media knows has been absolutely insane over the last 6 months at least, which is sort of contributing to the overall problem and a little bit what I was talking about with working in versus on your business. But I mean, I effectively handed off a bunch of the marketing and networking and that kind of stuff and stopped doing what I'm good at, which is this, talking to people and sharing my experiences and talking about the brand and the products and all that kind of stuff. And so, that's a case where using consultants, using vendors and that kind of thing, there's nothing wrong with it. What you have to be careful of is how much of the control that you hand off. And it's, in my case, it was more of a mental thing than anything else. I disengaged a little bit and said, oh, well, this is going so well on this side, which in reality, it really wasn't. That I stopped doing what I know I needed to be doing.
So can you, maybe we create a fictitious business, detailing business from it, or we use your real life example, but can you give us, either your personal experience or one that you fabricate, but a little bit more detail on that, where maybe a detailing business would be better because guys would be able to kind of put themselves in that shoe. But like you say that you release too much control. What is like too much executive control, decision control, or you took your finger off the pulse of what was actually going on? Maybe.
Yeah. All of those things.
Okay.
Basically, and I think if I put my detailing company owner hat on, the way it might look is, there's all these sort of detailing, sales and marketing in a can kind of things that happen.
Okay.
That are out there, these services. And so the temptation is to pay these guys a few $100 a month or whatever, and then they handle the lead generation for your business, right? I mean, I think that's sort of the MO of these companies is they'll set up your website and they'll do lead generation and all that kind of this Angie's List type stuff.
Okay. Like the Uber for whatever, or more of like a Yelp?
Well, kind of like a Yelp, but what they promise you is that they have top 10 positioning on Google basically Google Places or local business or whatever. And so when someone does, in my case, Bozeman, Montana auto detailing, for example, then they will actually have a bigger position than I do. People will trust their directory more than my personal site, which actually is not true. Right. But then they will disperse leads based on, I don't know what algorithm they are saying that they use, but
it's actually, so you're talking about like people because I get calls all the time, right? And it's like, oh, your Google positioning has flaws. We can help you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
even beyond go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Even beyond that, in terms of we're going to help you with your search engine positioning, this is more of you're an Angie's List kind of directory list.
Got it. So I actually, because I know a little bit about SEO and back-end stuff and how all that works a little bit with the search engines, I actually started, and I had a little bit of free time, one of those people called me, and I started pressing them for like answers, and a lot of them are total shams. Because my biggest thing was, if you're saying my ranking isn't as high as what you can offer, how'd you find me again? And they go, oh, the internet. Oh, okay. And how did you do that? Oh, I searched auto detailing in my case, Seal Beach. Oh, and I popped right up, right? Yeah, you were like top. Okay, so why do I need you again? Right? and then it gets them into a pickle where they're like, never mind. Sounds like you got all the bases covered. Or like, did you
ask them like, all right, so if I search for search engine optimization, you'll be in the top 2 pages, right?
Right.
Well, no, we're like page 4,000. Oh, well, yeah, here's my money. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Totally. Okay. So you essentially in your position hired one of those companies to take that over.
Well, not in my position, but I'm giving you an example.
Oh, okay. Got it.
In my case, I hired a consultant that
was going to take you to the next level.
Right. Okay. That's basically had some networking opportunities for us, and that's where. That's
and I know you're dancing a little bit, and I don't want to press you too hard. I was just trying to, I don't want you to give anything away. I know what you're talking about, but I know that. Yeah. So
no, I mean I basically blew like $30,000.
Yeah.
So I mean I'm totally, I'll be open and honest about it. That and I think if anybody has followed Detailers Helper over the last 6 months, you kind of saw that I disappeared a little bit for 4 or 5 months. Some of that's just a matter of being really busy, and some of it's just that I wasn't doing what I needed to do. And running product businesses is friggin' hard. And running multiple businesses, in my case, in different industries, is really, really hard. So I've learned a lot this year for sure. But no, in terms of the detailing thing, that's my example. So rather than going to Cars and Coffees and having those conversations and talking to dealerships and talking to all the different customers bases that they can tap into, they will sit back, for example, you just sit back and say, oh, well, these guys are going to generate a bunch of leads for me, and so I'm going to sit back and I'm going to go detail this car. Mm. So that would be the example of sort of handing things off. There are certain things that you should just not be doing. Bookkeeping, if you can get bookkeeping for $50 a month, $100 a month, that unless you just happen to be a CPA turned detailer, that's one that probably makes sense to hand off. If you, for search engine optimization, if you want to pay someone to do that, that's a whole other conversation because it can be really time consuming, really expensive. But
it is really time consuming.
Yeah, we know for sure. And, those kind of things, and those probably should be handed off. But in terms of your direct interaction with your customer base, I don't think that's ever makes sense for you to hand off. So
got it. So that would be an example of something you did where you stopped communicating direct with the customer. You stopped building those relationships or nurturing those relationships that you had, and you brought in this consultant that you thought would continue doing that for you.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
And so what is there like due diligence that, so I guess it would be like the owner of the business brings in if you're a fixed location or even mobile, you bring in a shop manager, right? And then you essentially think that shop manager can replace you and do all the day-to-day stuff, handle the business, run it like it's their own, and you head out to Fiji or the Bahamas or Grand Cayman.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what would you do? Because, I mean, honestly, the flip side is this person could have delivered on that, right? Maybe not that person specifically, but a person could deliver on that, right? So what, and we could have been sitting here saying, hey, you should freaking find a person for everything, right? So what due diligence would you have done or should you have done that you didn't do?
Well, just it was sort of a mental shift. Mental shifts happen all the time. I'm not a woo-woo kind of a guy where, energies and all that crap. But it's just how you think about your business and how you think about your direct interaction with it. And to your point, if I'm checking out mentally, then bad things are going to happen. I mean, you could pay a guy $100,000 a year if you had a big enough shop and a big enough revenue stream to run your shop. But the problem is, if he's that good at running your shop, guess what? He's going to figure out that he can make $250,000 a year running it for himself, since he's already doing it anyway.
Right.
Or her, whoever.
Sure.
And so that works. But I think if you segment, you never should stop being the owner of your business unless you're actually ready to stop being the owner, i.e. you're going to sell it off to somebody else.
Right.
So like if you're gonna hire a shop manager, that shop manager should have very specific task oriented roles that you're defined, whether it be employee management, interviewing, the day-to-day logistics, efficiency, all that kind of stuff. But you're not hiring someone to replace you as the owner of the business. If you are, then that's a bad thing.
Right. I just had a thought and I lost it. Yeah, keep going.
So, I mean, that talks to what we were saying about working on versus in your business. And so in that case, you do need some time in order to work on your business, doing sales, marketing, networking, planning, strategy, all that kind of stuff. If that means bringing an extra person in to help you, even on a part-time business, that's great.
You can always take it slow, right? You don't have to bring a person in full-time. You could start with 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, an intern, whatever.
Or just we're big efficiency people, and so you look for ways to be more efficient with your time. If that means, again, bookkeeping, if you're spending 10 hours a week doing bookkeeping and payroll, then that's a no-brainer to buy some time for you to actually, and don't trade that for let's do another car. You trade it for, how we can grow the business kind of a thing.
And that's totally, and it's so hard, I think, especially for detailers, because we're only getting paid when we're actually physically working on a car. And that's something that was a real big barrier for me to try to overcome, is well, how can I allocate time or money or resources to sales and marketing when I don't see a direct ROI, right?
Right.
There's such a direct ROI in doing cars of I do the car, I get paid. I do the car, I get paid. I do the car, I get paid. That it's when you do something and then you don't get paid, it's wait, what? Why would I do that? But if you're thinking long term or something more than just a part-time gig, or you really want to make some serious cash doing it, you really have to start working on your business, not just in your business.
Right, because I mean, if you're not doing that, then eventually things will either stagnate or go away. I mean, another perfect example in my own business, not in these actually. That I've run a web development business since 1997. I think I've told you that.
With the dinosaurs.
Yeah, with the dinosaurs. It's back when computers were basically that little bird from the Flintstones. Which, if using that reference in and of itself makes me sound really old, because half your audience what the hell's the Flintstones? Is that John Candy movie?
Well, the Flintstones, were you like a Flintstone, or are you just talking about the movie Flintstone?
First of all, it was a cartoon on TV way before it was a movie.
Shows my
Thank
age.
you very much. And yes, I just poke holes in the floorboard of all my cars, and that's how I get around and save gas.
First start it with fire, and then poke
So
holes.
anyway, great example. We actually got a huge contract. Multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not all went to me.
Right.
Doing a custom software program that was like a 3-year project. And what happened was I was too busy managing that and all the programmers that were involved in it. And I sort of forgot, eventually this is going to end. And then we won't have any new customers. Well, fast forward to the end of that project, and it did happen. And basically, about 80% of my web development business was tied up into that project, just because it was so many hours that I wasn't working on getting new clients prior to the end of it, because it ended a little more suddenly. The whole thing kind of wrapped up way faster than we thought. And
there was no residual income built on to the back end of it.
Right.
Because I think what you're saying is like, I was thinking about that in other industries, construction and stuff like that. It's like, how do you allocate all your resources towards one job and keep it going year after year after year, but also it's like these detailers that do, a 30-hour correction and coding, not to kind of gripe on them so much. I know I do that, but it's like, well, don't you have other responsibilities or other clients that want to be serviced? And I get it, every like neck of the wood is a little bit different, right? But I'm like, man, if I told some of my clients when they called I was booked 4 months in advance, I wouldn't have any clients to be booked up 4 months in advance. Yeah,
they'll go somewhere else. I mean, if you've got a specialty service that you're doing, some of the guys that we know are doing very high-end specialty stuff, but they represent such a small percentage of our industry. But yeah,
and I really don't want to gripe on like the high-end guy, but I do just think they're more unicorns, than people think. So I just wonder, and great for them, right? Like that is the Holy Grail. If you could work on one car a month, that is the Holy Grail, because then you only got one customer to manage their expectations and personality, right?
Well, assuming that there are at least 12 of those customers that come in every year.
Exactly.
Then you've got a sustainable business. If there's one every 6 months, that's not sustainable. So the model would be, I think, and you can disagree with me if you want, but even though I'm still right.
Of course, you tell your wife that.
She's not here. She's
there you go. That's what, I thought you were talking kind of loud and kind of confident.
Yeah,
that's why. Like, yeah, baby, hear that? No. Yep. She's not even.
Yeah, there you go. No, but I mean, like, let's say that you're just your average, normal detailer, not this unicorn, and a big coding and correction job comes in, and it takes, I don't know. Let's just say it's 2 8-hour days. 16 hours that it's going to take. Well, you don't do that. You may not need to do that over 2 days in a row and then push other people off. You may need to split that up and do, say, hey, I need your car for 4 days.
Right. And maybe that's what they do, to be honest, I don't
think so. Most of the guys most of the people that I know that are doing that don't. You only see them. You only see them doing the one car. But, if you're not doing that, I would suggest that you figure out a way to split your time to say, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 to noon is all of our maintenance clients or our, services that last less than 2 hours or whatever it happens to be. That way you can continue to keep your regulars coming back. Because like you said, I'm not going to wait. If I need detailing that's not high end, I'm going to go somewhere else or go to the car wash or whatever it happens to be,
Totally. What are maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 top things that you would suggest people do in order to not kind of get scammed like you did? And not, because a lot of people, honestly, and I know you aren't in the position to just throw money around either, but $30,000 to some people would be debilitating and they'd be out,
Well, it is, and I'm there.
I know you're not balling and you just throw 30 grand around. I know you don't, so I'm not making you seem like a big shot. But to make sure, or other people, maybe it's 10 grand might as well be 30 grand, or 5 grand, or 2 grand might as well be $1 million to some people. You know what I mean? It's that far out. So, what would you suggest people look for when they're at that point of like, okay, we need someone else. I need help. I need to start working on my business, not in it. What do you suggest what are red flags, I guess?
Well, yeah, I mean, before we get to the red flags, let's talk about just the overall mindset and process.
Okay.
Everything.
Obviously, I don't have that much experience with this, so.
I think process is the biggest thing, just like we've talked about. I did a video, I'm sure you've talked about this, on, knowing how much product you're using, knowing how much time everything takes, all that. The data is king, right? So you can figure out your costs and pricing and all that kind of stuff. Well, the same thing would hold true, I think, in terms of how you're allocating the hours that you have in your business. Really stepping back and looking at, all right, the last 2 weeks, this is, I spent X number of hours actually running a polisher or vacuum or whatever. I spent this many hours doing payroll, spent this many hours answering phone calls, whatever that happens to be. And then look for ways to trade some of those hours that are quote unquote wasted hours, and figure out what the opportunity cost is that you're losing. You talked about earlier just billable hours. Well, the problem with billable hours is that you're not figuring in the opportunity costs.
Right. Huge.
That you're,
and
so.
That is such a huge statement, and kind of speaks directly to what me personally, and I like how we're using just like personal examples, because who can argue with experience, right? Personal experience.
Right.
But that's something that I've recently been going through, and it's really hard of measuring opportunity costs, because it's like, especially I talk about that, like, go do a car, make money, go do a car, collect the money, go do a car, collect the money. But one thing I started thinking about is just like this. I mean, we're recording this somewhat midday, for me at least, and it's like, well, yeah, is there a car I could go make $30 on, $40 on? Probably. But am I going to make more money in future by doing a podcast? Maybe. You know what I mean? So am I actually losing money by going out and doing certain cars when I could be focused on doing other work? That opportunity. Yeah. And a lot of people don't, like, I'll be honest, my dad does not understand the opportunity cost. His mindset is go make all the money you can. And it's like, well, yeah, but if you think about that, going in and making all the money I can, you need to factor in opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Because that's future money too,
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before, that, you get to a point as an entrepreneur a lot of times when it's like, I mean, for us, for example, yeah, that money was definitely not, I don't have that money.
Right.
And so we've been sort of crawling out of this hole, and the thought comes, every couple of days, holy crap, maybe I should just go get a real job.
Totally.
And I've been self-employed for 20 years. So, but what I have to realize is that if I go to, let's say that I'm at Lowe's making, I don't know, $15 an hour or whatever it is. Well, I can earn, that takes a lot of hours that I could spend working on my business, whether it's sales, marketing, new product ideas, whatever, that I could actually do better, just working on my own business,
right.
And the same holds true for the small detailer, like you're saying. Should I go do this car for $30 or $40, or should I figure out, should I spend that 2 hours researching all the events that I could possibly do that won't cost a lot of money, and the number of people that I can impact and get sold. And I think the problem in our industry right now is everybody's like, oh, well, I need to do these $1,500 things, and they're few and far between, honestly, unless you just happen to be in that industry or that part of the industry. Mm-hmm. But if you do an event and it takes a couple of hours and you book 4 or 5 clients, the long-term, the customer acquisition cost is low, but then the long-term customer value is really high.
100%.
So diverted a little bit, but
okay. I think that was
so
good.
you know, for an example of what we're talking about, if you look at that and you say, okay, well, I spend 5 hours a week doing payroll and bookkeeping. I really don't need to do that. In my area, the average bookkeeper charges $35 an hour. Let's say it's $50 an hour. But instead of it taking her 5 hours, it takes her 2 hours. You know,
right.
So for $100 a week, I can buy back 5 hours, and in that 5 hours, I can book, you know, X number of jobs. And so that $400 a month that you're spending may turn into $1,000. So you're netting. I mean, hell, if it even turns into $600, you netted $200. So
you know what's so interesting too? Every time, I don't have, to be honest, I don't have a ton of experience essentially outsourcing stuff, but it seems like every time I've like allocated money towards something and taken a step back from it. So, for example, I don't do regular car washing anymore, especially at like corporate buildings. And that used to be 80-90% of my income, right? But it's like every time I took away one of those accounts, and sometimes they added up to $1,500 a month, $1,700 a month, you know, like bigger money accounts for a single operation, you know, I would lose that money almost every time, or at least I don't remember the times it didn't happen. I ended up getting better accounts, you know, or better opportunities. And the most recent one is I think it's my last corporate building. I let it go. It was a $600 to $800 a month account, and within the first 2 weeks, I had made more money than I would have at the whole month for that account.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I just freed up like essentially 2 whole days during the week over the course of that month to do whatever else. You know, I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
Right. I mean, and you know, obviously I sell a product that's based on efficiency, but efficiency isn't just about products and processes. You know, a lot of times efficiency is just a making the right decisions on where you spend your time.
Totally.
You know, if it's, in my case, it's, you know, stop going back and forth to the van or the bumper or whatever, and put crap on your hips, but, or using the right kind of polisher, right kind of product, whatever it is. But, you know, in that case, if it doesn't make sense for you to be spending that time, what could you do at that time? Or again, you point out, you know, firing and hiring the right kind of clients. That's a whole other podcast, but
that is a whole other podcast. I am knee deep in the thick of that right now.
Yeah,
actually, not in the thick of it. I would say I'm coming out the backside, of it, you know, but that is hard. That is really difficult to fire clients or let them go.
It's one of the most satisfying things in the world. I've fired
really
a
hard
lot
too. I guess it's hard for me because I really enjoy like investing my time into each client, and this isn't a braggadocious thing at all. It's just like I really enjoy like, hey, like, how are your kids? How's the wife? Blah, blah, blah. How'd you start this business? So it's like when I leave or I stop seeing them, I feel like not a friend, but like, wow, I've watched them grow their business over the past 6 years, and now I'm just not going to see them every week. Like that, that's hard, you know, but also rewarding.
That's good customer service on your part. You're investing in people. Because, I mean, if you just see them as just cars and then dirty door jams, I mean, there's no satisfaction in that at all. When you're in a service-based business, you're developing relationships with people. It's the whole thing. It's whether you're a realtor or personal trainer or detailer or whatever. It's those relationships that are important. And that's, you know, but at the same time, you've got to say, look, you know, I need to go seek out and do other things.
Totally. 100% agree. What do you have any other tips or notes that you may have jotted down in regards to this?
Well, I mean, you know, we talked about looking at your bottom line with your time and all that stuff and figuring that out. And then, you know, just put on your bullshit detector.
Ooh, am I going to have to mark this podcast as explicit?
You probably are.
No, not gonna happen.
But yeah, I don't even curse that much.
I know. Look at
yeah, so
you are
that's,
having a bad day.
But you know, sometimes it's just that's just the right word.
You know what? My opinion on cussing is sometimes there's just no other word that will fit the emotion.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We've talked about that before, and we won't mention those in our circle that we've talked about because then, you know, I'll get in trouble, and so will you.
100%.
But
which I don't know. I'm almost starting to think like that would be the best thing for my career lately. I go back and forth on that. It's like, oh, do you want to get bit by a shark or do you not? Because if you get bit by a shark, that's gonna hurt, right? If you survive, but you're gonna be on every news station. That's good publicity, right?
Yeah, just ask Bethany Hamilton, right? Her one arm.
Yeah, but how's she doing now? She's got a kid. She's, you know, probably a sponsored athlete, surfs every day. I mean, yeah, she's down an arm, but hey.
Well, yeah. I mean, God has a plan for all of us. So
I'm obviously being a little facetious,
her story's really cool. If you haven't checked. If those listening haven't checked out her story,
you know, I haven't checked out her story, but I've heard the same thing about it. That she's actually a really solid person.
Yeah,
and then her story is really cool. I've obviously never met her, but yeah. So
anyway, you gotta put your BS detectors on. So if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, 100%. And we all fall victim to that. And I think one of the driving factors of that is greed, and I think that that's a good example for me. It's like, oh, we're going to do this and do this and do this, and you start thinking, yeah, that would be awesome if we did that. If that order came in, I would, it would set me up for the year and all this. And this may sound familiar to you because I had this conversation with you about this person during the last 6 months. So,
right.
And so as detailers, they're like, well, we can raise your, instead of doing 10 details a week, you're going to do 20 and that kind of thing. And so, just take a step back, be conservative with your growth. I don't think fast growth is ever a good thing. For most, not ever, but I think in most cases, the faster you grow, the harder it is.
Right. Yeah. Growing pains.
So,
man.
That's the thing. Just put on your BS detector and don't allow your emotions to drive your decisions. That's like the top thing, because whether that's envy by being on Facebook too much, which we've talked about, Instagram, if it's greed, if it's jealousy, if it's whatever, all those emotions cloud your judgment. Totally. And gather data. And like you said, how'd you find me and what's your position on Google and all that stuff when it comes to SEO, that kind of thing makes sense. Gather data, figure out the ROI, and then that's how you make decisions. Just like evaluating whether or not a new product is going to help you be more efficient. You need to gather the data, talk to people, and see whether or not it's going to make sense to spend the money on it.
Makes sense to me, man. I love it. I love it. If people want to enter that giveaway, it is a giveaway, but it's a giveaway,
but not a contest. How about that?
It's a giveaway, not a contest. For some reason, I keep thinking it's a contest. So if you want a free buffing pad, right? And this wasn't a sponsored thing. It's a win-win, right? Like if you want free stuff, how do people get it?
Just go to Detailers&nbsp and you can place an order. I'll probably put a big banner slide thing at the top that advertises it and tells people what to do. I need to figure out a better way to do it, because last time I did this coupon thing where you added it to your cart and then you put a coupon in so you get it for free, and like, I don't know, 20% of the people that ordered had no idea what they like expected me just to ship it without them asking about it, so people didn't follow instructions on some of them, but no big deal. I shipped them anyway. But so I'll figure out a better way. But go to detailershelper.com and you'll find the information. So.
And what about if they want to see your sweet hair or follow you on Facebook or Instagram or all the other activities?
Which Instagram? Let me see. I've got Sugar High Motorsports on Instagram, Detailers Helper Official on Instagram, Kevin_B_Davis on Instagram, the Helper Brands. on Instagram.
Are you busy just managing your own Instagram account?
Oh my gosh. And then couple that with every one of those also on Facebook. So we have all of those kind of things. If you're interested in anything car related, this thing that we do with Sugar High Motorsports and my wife and our build and all that is an adventure in itself. We had she races Jeeps. We rebuilt it, and then we had a fire. So I'm currently in the midst of rebuilding it again.
Which, by the way, how the heck? Like, I look at what you do, especially like the dash, and I'm like, what the heck? How do you know how to do? I guess this could be a whole nother podcast, but at first I was like, oh, Kevin's kind of a wimp. It's like his wife off-roading. Like, that's kind of like, wait, who wears the thong in this relationship? And then I saw,
I do.
which I knew that already, but I saw. But I see what you're capable of doing, and I'm like, this guy is incredible. I mean, so kudos to you that, like, you know how to do all this stuff, because what you've done it was incredible before when you had a Jeep that wasn't half burnt, but then what you were able to do from a burnt Jeep that, like, was charred, half of it at least, I would say, or maybe even more, like, to where it's at now is really incredible. That you should be really stoked on yourself that you have the ability to do all that. That's incredible.
Well, I appreciate that. Lots of hot rod time. Building that Cobra taught me a ton of stuff. There's 3,000 plus hours in that car, but wow. I'm kind of a generalist. And I think a lot of detailers can be that way or are that way, where you sort of just know a little bit about a lot of different things. And I fail a lot. That's that's been a common theme here. I will typically, I'm missing a gene that says I shouldn't attempt that because I don't know how to do it. And so I just don't have that in my personality.
That's probably also how you got to where you're at, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of failure, but it's one step back, two steps forward is typically, what I try to do. I come from a very interesting background. I was having a conversation with this guy yesterday, and he was like, I don't believe it. You don't, like, my background is crazy. So we'll have to have that conversation later.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
At some point, but I come from a very interesting background. But no, I really appreciate the kudos on that. It's fun. I'm actually still here. I've got about 2 weeks to finish it before we go. I'm going to go back, pick up Michelle. We have to go to LA to prototype some parts for SEMA.
What part of LA?
Ontario, I think. So that's a ways from here. So yeah. So we'll but yeah, we found a spot in the off-road section of SEMA this year, which is freaking awesome. So that'll be fun. And so my wife will have had 3 SEMA builds in 2 years because she's involved in that other build with Bogey from All Girls Garage too. So that's freaking crazy. So.
That's
you sit back and like there are these builders that have wanted to have a SEMA vehicle for 25 years, and she's had 2 in 2 years, and now another one, and so it's and I don't say that to brag at all. Like, the fact that 2 idiots from Montana have a Jeep on the floor at SEMA is like totally, where we stand, it's like a total gut thing. So it's just like the blessings that we have in that regard. We're going to go broke and live in under the underpass.
You have 3 cars at SEMA in 2 years.
Yeah, and we're going to have, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like the guy that the plane is going down, like, that you're going to crash. And so what do? You do a loop-de-loop on the way down.
You can't take it with you, Kevin.
No, that's sort of my life philosophy. But no, it's been crazy. If you guys are interested at all, that's sort of a part of our lives right now. That's pretty. It's, in my mind, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty exciting to sort of watch and see how things. You didn't even
touch on all the traveling you're doing too, amidst all this.
No, I mean we're basically gone all year. You saw the tire blowout on the motorhome, right?
I did, and you fixed it.
That was crazy. We literally had been 200 miles in the mountains going around these huge sharp turns and all that stuff. And so about a mile and a half after everything leveled out and we got in the perfect spot to have a blowout, the tire blew.
Wow.
I mean, it was nuts. And so like it literally we would have made a real airplane out of that, out of that motorhome in about 100 different places during those miles. So that turned out good. Yeah, I mean, people, like I said on my Facebook post, I'm like, people are going to think we make this crap up. But this is like actually happened.
It's just amazing you didn't crash it. I mean, I couldn't even imagine having a blowout in an RV.
Yeah, I've never had.
a tire blowout. I've had other. Blowouts.
I've never had a front tire blowout. And it's a 40-foot motorhome, weighs 26,000 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it could have been bad. I was surprised at actually how it handled. Because it basically just dropped the whole thing right on the rim.
Wow.
Because there was no tire left. But anyway, so that's the other thing we have going on. SugarHighMotorsports.com. We do have a GoFundMe page if you want to join in, but nice. So that, and we have corporate sponsors and that kind of thing. Guys, the McKee's 37 has been on board to help us out, and they've been a great sponsor too. So
that one's on me.
Yeah, you like that? I'll send you a check. You can edit that out too.
No, I'm leaving it.
Let me say it. Wait,
list all your sponsors.
Let me just say the Auto Detailing Podcast. All right, now you can cut and paste that into that spot.
Yeah. Our title sponsor is. All right. Thanks for listening to another episode. That, again, like I said in the very beginning, this was just such a refreshing episode to do with Kevin. So I hope it was refreshing to you guys and you enjoyed it as well. Check out the Detailer Inner Circle. Guys, I'm shamelessly plugging it because I believe in it so much. And just like a lot of us in the real detailing world, when we believe in a product, we're seeing it really heavily right now with coatings, but when you really, really, really believe in a coating, or you really, really believe in a product, you sell the crap out of it to your customers because you want them to experience what you know is already truth. And that's how I really feel with the Detailer Inner Circle. I'm seeing guys get results, and it's an amazing group of camaraderie of both women detailers, lady detailers, and guy detailers coming together for the greater good of making our industry better. And I'm excited to play a huge role in that with everyone in that group. So I encourage you to watch the 100% completely free video to see if the Detailer Inner Circle is right for you at detailerinnercircle.com, because we truly only do want people who are interested in it. So see if you're the right fit by doing it for free, detailerinnercircle.com. And if you choose to join, I'll see you on the inside.